Ooh,
Oh,
man, it's been a long.
oh,
We're in the left.
dear. This is nice. It's your boy Tipsy Japan back with another episode of Atas Across Time and Space. I can't hold it in, but I'm over here on cross culture, so let me. Whew.
Episode number XXIV. No. XXVI. There we go.
VI. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. We in there. So we got a new time, same space. But we're gonna be hopefully kicking it out. You know, some scheduling conflicts came up because your boy Tipsy Japan got promoted. You know,
Well, thank you. Moving up in the world, you know, feels good. It's at the right time in my life and in the right space to get some things done. So yeah, it feels good.
What you did there? I see what you did there.
Well, I mean, you know, that's how you get a promotion.
So hold on. We got somebody who's tuning in
already.
Yeah.
Already in the right space.
Yeah. Welcome back, guys. It's been a minute. Water Pulse Laser, probably the most consistent listener out there. We definitely want to give you that shout out for real.
Yes. We appreciate that. We always appreciate it. I think he hit that bell notification, you know, so that
definitely has the bell notification.
The best of Atas will be instantly, you know, right there in those ears.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way, because we didn't announce the time change.
Yeah,
we didn't announce the time change, but
we're at the right time now. That's right what it is. We're at the right time.
Yeah,
but it's a shortened time now, right? It's a new format.
Yeah. We're gonna try to keep it to 30 minutes, only because with the podcast we want to get that info to you, even if it's in video form. We want to make it a little quick, snappy. You know, want you to be able to say, oh, I have enough time for this episode because it's not going to take so long. You know?
Right.
We're still gonna get down into the nitty gritty a little bit, but we're just going to try to make it a little faster.
Yeah, it's like you know, Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious.
All right. Okay. They call that Wild Speed out here. Matter of fact.
Wild Speed.
Wild Speed.
Wild Speed. All right.
Speaking of Wild Speed, how about the Wild Speed of the scientific revolution?
Ooh, okay. I see the transition work.
I'm just saying.
You said the scientific revolution?
Yeah. That's what we're talking about today. I think everybody's read up and they're ready to go.
Oh yeah. So the scientific revolution, it's so this chapter was specifically, or well, not specifically long, but it seemed really long. And the thing about the book is, with most books, there's a nice flow to it, so it doesn't seem as long. When I saw that the audiobook was going to take 1 hour and 9 minutes for this chapter, I was like, dang, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
But the stuff that was discussed in this chapter, oh my goodness, I was definitely taken aback. And we're in the 4th part of the book. So the book has chapters and it has divisions. So in the 4th part, and then this chapter, the scientific revolution, and I don't want to go too deep into it because our new format doesn't really allow me to until it's my turn. But it's just talking about how science became a priority and how even the priority of science is dictated. That's why I'm gonna leave it right now, because it is so deep and I definitely have to speak on it. But what I want to hear is from TPC Japan, the People's Champ. What did you get out of this chapter?
What did I get out of it? So my thing is, right, recently I've been looking into Brilliant. And this is not an advertisement, but I've been looking into Brilliant because you know, I've had this desire to see how math links.
So take a step back for us, because I don't know what Brilliant is. I'm not up on the level.
All right. Well, you know, they need to sponsor this video next time. But basically, the way that Brilliant works, it's a website, e-learning website, where you basically are going through like all the like mathematics and logic and science and chemistry and whatever like related to like mathematics study that you would want to, in a very like visual and personalized way. It's a lot of fun. You can do it on your smartphone, on your tablet, on your computer, whatever. And basically, like, I've just kind of dug in there because there's another YouTuber I like called Veritasium, and he always says at the end, you know, like, sign up at brilliant.org right now, and you get like a 10-20% discount on the first year. So it's super cheap. But it's also an investment, like, in your like mathematical understanding of things. So that's the context that I was coming at this chapter with, this understanding, like, that math is extremely important and it's something I want to kind of tap into. But there's also, like, this chapter, what it's talking about is the way that we view or we use science right now to discover and understand, the way that the universe works, but then also use mathematical equations to back all of that. And personally, like, I want to see the math behind, nature and creation and everything around me. If it's possible, if and when it's possible, with the social sciences, I mean, it's not as exact as the book was saying. It's not as exact as, like algebra and some of these other science. But then you look at, like, statistics, right? And the way that helps you to make predictions about, the future events. Predictions don't tell you everything, but statistics don't tell you everything, but they do give you probability, right? And one of the kind of quotes in this chapter, I'm gonna refer back to that at some point in there, but that quote, it was like, Habakkuk and St. John, like, these guys couldn't give you a prediction as clear as that. I mean, to be honest, when you look at, like, the way that the Bible's set up, you don't see a bunch of. He did say, Noah Yuval Harari, what his book here, he did say that, you know the Bible doesn't have a bunch of data and tables and charts and all that,
Definitely does not.
kind of information in there. So it's not. They didn't put, like, an emphasis on mathematics in order to understand the way that life works. Instead, the Bible, the Quran, Bhagavad Gita, all of these ancient books, they would use stories. You have the observation, but then you have stories to make it digestible. Now with, modern science, it uses, you have these observations, but then you use mathematics to draw the lines between things. So you need to understand the mathematics in order to make it work. But mathematics is dry in the sense that if you just understand the logic and the rules of it, then it should follow straight through. That being said, there are irrational numbers and all kinds of weird things out there. But I'm just saying. That's what this chapter was saying to me. It was talking to me there, and yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to be seduced by the dark side, numerology, and all that good stuff. But I'm sure it's part and parcel of this new religion of how to look at the world. There are also 3 points that he mentioned in the way that science works now, and I wonder if it really comes down to that. Like, the first point he mentioned was ignoramus. Remember that ignoramus piece? Yeah, where make no assumptions, and we're just going by our observations and stuff like that. But it's like you can kind of get into this attitude, like, if you're really ignoramus about stuff properly, then you should arrive at true conclusions. But in fact, like, I think there's an attitude that you get that if you don't do it this way, if you don't do it in the scientific method, then that's ignorance, period. Also, there was another point that he mentioned. It was about the the fact that in the past, like, observations and scientific observations of things were not they weren't viewed as important. All right. So then, modern science doesn't view the observations of the past, the data that was collected in the past, as important. And that's I think that they were wrong in the past to chalk up all that extra data. If it's not in the Bible, if it's not in whatever the scripture is, then it's not really relevant in the
That's
grand scheme
important.
of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but then now it's like we're just doing the same thing back. Two wrongs don't make it right. Like, the data that they found in the past, we're not starting with that. We're just reinventing the wheel right now. I mean, come on, like you can't really reinvent the wheel. Like it's there, and like I think that you should start from that understanding, start the analysis from the history that we have, and try to keep it as dry as possible, and just observe it for what it is. And then we could probably get further that way. So I guess that's the yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, but I had to let it out.
Man, so I mean, the thing about it is that you brought up a point. The whole ignoramus thing. I believe it was Socrates that said, "The only thing that I know is that I know nothing."
Mm,
And that's kind of where our driving force is,
mhm,
where we're saying, like, okay, I don't know anything
mhm.
and I want to know more.
Right.
Therefore, let me go out and search. That's where that hunger and thirst for knowledge come from.
Mhm,
One of the things that stuck out to me in this chapter was the whole. So there was the scientific, kind of awakening, right?
right.
It's like, okay, we want to do things scientifically. We want to go into chemistry. We want to go into this. We want to go with that. And then, of course, hundreds of years after that, the first science, alchemy, to now where we're working with chemistry and biology and all of that.
Mhm,
Um, the author brings up the fact that the the terminology of just research grants and things like that,
mhm,
and how they speak to other issues, are what gets funded. And the
mm,
reason I found that so uh, enlightening, well, not really enlightening, but so interesting, is because there was something else I was listening to years back, and it was talking
right.
about how people were trying to get funding, and no matter what it was, they would just tie it into global warming.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I want to study squirrel farts, you know?
Right. To reduce the methane in order to make,
Exactly.
the planet more sustainable.
Any way they could tie it into global warming, and then they would get the funding because
Mhm,
it's pulling at somebody's heartstrings,
mhm.
or pulling at the thing that is current.
The current, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So we get into the fact of, like, the Fitchburg Health Study, right?
Mhm,
Fitchburg Health Study was done in the 60s, basically saying that you don't need to be eating all of this red meat in order to get your protein. You don't even need to eat meat to get your protein. You don't need to drink milk to get your calcium.
mhm.
And of course, it was done away with, because
Facts. Yeah.
in the 60s, what was driving everything? Consumption of animal byproducts,
Mhm.
and the companies that were funding these animal byproduct factories and infrastructure and blah blah blah.
Right.
So it got swept under the rug. Come
Mm.
into the early 2000s, and now everybody's drinking soy milk. Everybody's saying, like, you know what, we need to think about, not only what's happening with animals,
Mhm.
but the fact that we're farming all of this land and not giving the nutrients back. We're
Mm.
literally killing what we do have. I mean,
Mm.
and livestock does that a lot more than plants and vegetables,
True.
but there's
The
all of this
carbon
research.
footprint. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the carbon footprint. I mean, everybody's kind of in that mindset now. It's like, okay, what am I destroying in order to
Mm.
live? You know?
Right.
And it's just that deep. And I was following, you've probably heard of this company, most people have by now. Impossible.
Impossible.
I started following Impossible, when was it? 2015,
Man, they
because they
came
were
out.
saying,
No, 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 no. They came out in 2016. That's impossible.
I started following them 2015, because
Ah,
there was already research going on about making the perfect vegan cheese. They
Huh.
hadn't gone like super public yet. It was just kind of like a pipe dream. And it was like, we aim to make this cheese so that there's not so much of a footprint on the
Mhm,
earth. And they were like,
mhm,
this is what the earth looks like now. And we
mhm,
hope to make it a lot greener because we're not
mhm,
having to make sustainable farmland. And I was like, wow, this is interesting.
mhm,
But it all boils down to what's current and what's going to get the funding and
mm,
how you put that out there.
mhm.
Because soy milk was barely a thing when I was a kid. It was barely a thing. I was on soy formula when I was a baby.
Soy formula?
Yeah, soy formula. I guess I was a little lactose intolerant. That's what mom told me. So
Wow.
I it was around back then.
Yeah.
But now it's like you got so many different brands, so many different flavors, so many different, you know, companies trying to edge into the the plant-based protein market.
Well, the governments like there was an interesting chart in actually the printed version of this, but
Mm,
basically governments, put money into different types of research in the hopes that it provides something for the people that will keep them supporting the government. So in the past,
mm,
the government was putting money into, or almost ancient times, they were putting money into the church and the scribes and whatever, these kind of organizations or institutions that would keep the people's minds and their behavior in check, and then
mhm,
they would then collect that money right back and fund it into the government or into the crown or whatever, you know. So now it's an interesting point to say, all right, are these different research organizations or different groups of people that are trying to put new products out there for the public? Are they looking to the government to get funding, or is it a GoFundMe to get funding, or are they looking for like these angels, to not real angels, of course,
angel
but
investor. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, these angel investors to drop money on them in order to in order to fund these little side projects.
Mm,
It's become a lot more available now. When you said that you were following them for that the company Impossible
mhm.
on their soy formula here, is that or soy cheese? Huh?
Yeah, yeah. It was a
Vegan cheese?
plant-based meat.
Yeah, vegan cheese formula. Was that a GoFundMe?
I it wasn't a GoFundMe. It was just
Mm,
that they were out there and they
mm.
had funding and they were making this
They
video
had the
showing
funding
like they had funding.
from
Yeah.
from whom?
So I all I know is that they were doing the research and all of that good stuff. But it was kind of before
Mm,
I don't want to say before GoFundMe because GoFundMe's been around for a while.
right.
But it was GoFundMe and um crowd-based funding hadn't really hit
Mm,
its stride. So it was still kind of
mm.
in its not really infancy, but maybe it's toddlerhood, if you will. Um, so I
So
don't think that it was something like
hmm,
that. But it's
that's-
funny that you bring up GoFundMe because now every major, well, not every major development, but a lot of the major developments that are being made, especially in consumer goods,
mhm,
start off with GoFundMe's. And then like they
mm,
go to Shark Tank and get, these angel investors and they're
mm.
not going the route of getting grants from the government. They're just saying, hey, I feel like I got a good idea.
Yeah.
Somebody else might like it. I'm gonna go run with it.
Right. And it's the possibility, the return on investment. Like, sure, there's a huge risk that they might just be making this thing up and disappear to the Cayman
Mm,
Islands or something, with their
true.
money. But um, the possibility of a huge return on investment is there for the angel
Oh, yeah.
investors, and for the other people that get in early. Like you see the cases that worked out. You don't see so many of the ones that don't work out, and you don't really focus on that. Yeah. I mean, as
Mhm.
a normal consumer, if you're thinking, I need to put some money on this guy. This seems like it's gonna pan out into something. Everyone wants to be part of something great, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, and this goes back to this book that another book that I've been reading. I'd love to get that a little piece of that action on this podcast too. But it's called 4,000 Weeks, It's called
4,000 weeks.
4,000 weeks, and you only get 4,000 weeks. I think I talked about this before, like 30,000 days in life. In this case, you only get 4,000 weeks in life.
Mm.
And sir, I think you've already hit half.
Dang, you
You've
trying to
already
play me? You realize you're older than me, right?
I'm just saying. It's like I mean, it's 75 or 75.5 years or so of life.
Mm.
On average, that's about correct.
On
you
average,
know?
yeah. Makes sense.
And yeah, if you're like halfway there by now, like 30, 36, 7, then yeah, I mean, you hitting a halfway mark. That being said, like, what are you going to do with your 4,000? And not even looking at your 4,000 as an instrumental thing. You know, it's really interesting. There was a quote saying that it wasn't how are you going to use your time, but are you time? Is man time himself?
Is
And
man time itself?
are you time? Yeah.
What the
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's just like that's out there. It's so out there.
Hmm.
But like you cannot like separate yourself from time. Everything for example, like the flab, if you got flab, I know I got flab.
I
That
got more than my
luxury,
fair share.
little luxury meat there. Like that,
Should we meet?
yes. you don't get luxury meat. It's called Zeiniku in Japanese. Like it really is a thing.
Oh, goodness.
Zei is luxury and Niku is meat, right? So if you got some Zeiniku on the side,
Mm.
that is the product of time spent. Like you can see the effects of time on a person's body. Every single effect of time. If you're not getting enough sleep, it appears on your body. Literally. All right. If your hair is growing, like you can see it. And with locks, it's so easy to see. How much time was spent. How much hair is grown. And every single moment, it's either getting longer or whatever. Like it's all there. So are we in fact time? And in the grand scheme of things, it's only been what was it? I think 300,000 weeks.
300,000
weeks is the whole history of mankind. Done. Done. That's it.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Only 20 generations. If people lived 100 years, it's only 20 generations back to Jesus.
Mm.
That's it.
I see.
So it's just like in the grand scheme of things, like, are we changing the whole universe? Or are we just, we're gonna spend our 4,000 weeks and be out? With that time, like, what are we, not just doing with it, but how are we spending it? Really like reevaluating that whole thing. And when it comes to like, this type of research and using math in order to understand the universe in such a way that we can do what are we trying to do with this time and space? This last book has helped me to like reevaluate that and really be thinking about it a lot. And I recommend it. It's called 4,000 Weeks. It's on our Scribed membership too. So
Oh yeah,
it is. You got the PDF and you got the whole audiobook. And you got a good podcast. There's another good podcast that just introduced the whole thing in an hour with the author. I mean, what else do you want?
Thanks.
Yeah, it's been wild.
Jeez.
Yeah. But that being said, I think I answered your question.
I mean, yeah, but I want to speak a little bit more to that before we start to wrap up because we are very close. I wanted to say, oh man, dang, I lost it. Oh man. I don't have to ever think about it. I'm so upset. I'm so upset.
What's it? Okay.
No. Okay. I got it.
Can I ask you?
Ask me what? I got the point back.
Okay. All right. I'll let you have it.
All right. So
use the chair.
The thing about it is that we see ourselves as living in the third dimension, right? Is that we can see things in the second dimension, and in the first dimension if we make a Mobius strip.
Yeah.
But we're actually in the fourth dimension. And the thing that defines a dimension is a measurement.
Mm.
and our fourth measurement is time.
Time. Okay.
Yes. So a lot of people just don't think about it. It's like, oh, we're in three-dimensional space. No, we're in four dimensions because we have something that tracks us as we go forward. You say you're getting older because more time has passed in your lifetime before,
Mm.
the dash is over. But
Right.
if you want to ask that question, gotta ask it now.
To be honest, yeah. Now that's it's really interesting because some people define the fourth dimension as time, others don't. But I do like to think about it that way.
Mm,
And the only thing about the fourth dimension that makes it interesting is that there's only it if it's time, it only moves in one direction, right?
mm,
And you can only observe a person in their current form, in their current form. You can't see them in the past, and you can't actually see them in the future. You can make your predictions about them. Like he's going to turn out like this someday, but you can't really like say,
yeah.
all right, definitively that this is what it was in the past. Like you can just see, or in the future. You can't, it's a real interesting thing. So I like to think about the fourth dimension as time, and
Mhm.
we are a living log of that progression through time.
Ooh, a living log. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that. I like that.
Mm.
So I mean, because this is cross culture, I'm gonna say it. You know, we don't just live in four dimensions. I'm gonna throw that out there.
No, not even just four.
No, I mean, at the very least, the fifth is the spiritual dimension. That's just
Mm.
measured differently. Just throwing
Mm.
that out there. Just throwing that out there.
Mm.
I've done my
Okay,
research
cool.
for that sermon, but I'm not gonna get too much into it. Um, but it's what it
Like,
comes down to is how whatever you're measuring your life with,
mm.
whatever you're measuring your life with, how are you standing up to that standard? Where it's like, I want to be a little bit taller. You're gonna maybe mark on your doorpost or whatever.
Mm.
Hey, I want to have a longer reach. I want to be able to palm a basketball. That's still a unit of measure. Whatever your goal is, um, that's what you're measuring. There's some type of metric that you're using,
Yeah.
and because of that, you do. Sometimes maybe you have a shortcoming, but you can always say, I'm going to strive for that goal. I'm going to strive for that. I'm going to strive for that. And the scientific revolution has only helped that because now we have so many more metrics to
Mm.
go by. We say, hey, I want to get 100 followers so I can have a custom URL on YouTube. Just another
Mm.
metric. We're constantly saying to ourselves, we want to live up to something
Right.
consistently, whether it be horrible beauty standards, all these magazines and stuff like, oh, you have to be slim and trim in order to be beautiful, or you have to wear the best and latest, or you have to have the best technology. There's all these metrics, but you have to decide for yourself what would your metric be. Period.
Man, I like that. I like that a lot. Like all those metrics. When I think of, dimensions 1 through 4. Like those they can all be expressed mathematically. That fifth one, I'm waiting for that sermon, man.
Ah,
You know, put a
yeah,
number, give it a number. You know,
give it a number.
um,
I mean,
if
there's
if it could be
numerology in the
expressed.
Bible. I'm just
Mm,
saying.
mm,
There's numerology in the Bible. There's number study. Yeah, definitely. But
Oh well, you can go to the book of Numbers if you're looking for that.
ah, I see what you did there.
I
I
got zingers
mean,
all day, man. Zingers all day.
zingers all day. Well, I mean, that's the time right now. Like,
Mm,
that's the wrap. We got to wrap it up. We're
mm,
in our last 17, 16 seconds of the podcast.
yeah, man.
So until next time, stay prayed up and be blessed. Make sure you check us out on Spotify and Anchor. We're on there. 25 episodes on there right now. I'm gonna get the 26 today. Today.
It's happening right now. It's been your boy TPC Japan, cross culture, telling you that's what it is. Thank you so much for your time and this space.
Yeah. Till next time. Peace.